Hey guys, this is Jon
and Austin.
This is another episode of the Meatgistics podcast. So we've got a very special one for you guys today, something that we've talked about for a while. We've got the Kingsbury and Associates. It is the Western Legacy Development Corporation's beef plant chief operating officer on the phone today. We were expecting and wanted to have Megan Kingsbury on, but something was going wrong with our system and she couldn't connect to this call. So we're trying to make this work. But we do have Curtis Harper, who is their chief operating officer. Curtis, thank you so much for taking some time out of your day to talk to us. We really appreciate it. And again, apologize for those technical difficulties.
No problem. Looking forward to having a conversation with you guys.
Yeah. So how this kind of started is we have a part of the podcast that we call Meat Matters. And the story of what you guys are doing came across our radar, and I find it so fascinating and think it's actually a really cool and hopefully industry interrupting type of thing that you guys are doing, because the size you're talking about puts you up there with some of the big boys, but you're not associated with any of them.
That's correct. No, we're completely independent, beholden to no one.
So can you talk a little bit about what went into this decision?
Sure. Megan and I have been good friends for many years. She used to live out here on the East Coast, where I spend most of my time, although I'm spending a lot of time out west right now. She decided to move back to Rapid City, where she's from, where her family are, and she's a fifth generation rancher. And we decided to open up a real estate and commercial development business together. This was probably a year and a half ago that we did that, and we're excited about that as well. And she started to explain to me the plight of the ranchers. And in her words, she said, I'm a fifth generation rancher, and I don't know if there's going to be a sixth generation. The margins have gotten so squeezed on the producers that she doesn't know if there's a future there. And so we started talking over a couple months and said, well, why don't we do something about it? And Megan has strong skills in construction, finance, and I've spent a lot of my career in large manufacturing, running large manufacturing operations, both for public companies and also on my own. So we said, let's do this thing, and there's no way to do it and make an impact and be a boutique shop.
Yeah, well, you so definitely didn't go boutique.
No, we did. No, we did not. No, we did not. We did not go boutique. No, I think that's fair to say.
I would say 8,000 head a day of cattle. I don't think that gets through how big that is. That is a huge thing. I was writing stuff down for this, and I said a lot of people would, dip their toes in. You guys dove to the bottom of the Marianas Trench. This would be the largest beef plant in North America.
To our knowledge, that's correct.
Like just as like a comparison, we're a supplier in the meat processing industry, but selling to independents out there, not really the big boys. But our average customer is a lot smaller than what you guys are.
Well, again, we can't have the impact we want to have by being small, and you have to make an impact on an industry of this size. You have to have a large footprint.
So a couple of weeks ago, months ago at this point, we talked to Bill. Was it Bill Berman from the American Ranchers Association? I had a great conversation with him, but he was talking very much about what it sounds like was the impetus of you guys opening this plant. That was the plight of the American cattle rancher. So her being a fifth generation cattle rancher, obviously it's in her blood, it's in her family. The connections that she has through that I assume, are going to be your initial customers. Is that the correct business plan?
The connections she has are invaluable, and the credibility she brings to the table by being a person whose family is intimately involved in it. Her cousin, runs their family ranch, and when you say ranch, it's a big ranch. We did a whole tour of the state, basically meeting with producers, meeting with crop growers, meeting with the state, basically meeting with every stakeholder that we could meet with. And the very first meeting we had was primarily ranchers, and a couple of them happened to be either state representatives or state senators, doesn't really matter. And the margins they described to me for the effort that goes into raising and feeding a cattle is just, I was just shocked at how low their margins are.
Yep. We've talked about it a bunch, especially recently with the cattle sell-off. We've seen a slight dip in the price of beef, but somebody in there is making a lot of money, and it's not the ranchers.
Wow. Correct.
So why did you guys choose Rapid City, South Dakota? Is there a familial connection to that?
Yes. Both Megan's mother and father are from Rapid City. Her family ranch is not too far away in Kadoka. So there's huge connections with that part of the state, eastern Wyoming, those things. And there's a lot of cattle that's raised or birthed in South Dakota, but does not end up getting processed in that area. It gets shipped off to other states to be fed.
So how many people are you looking at hiring? I've seen a few different numbers. Do you have a full staff number in mind?
We're looking at so we're looking at 2,500 people in the plant, and a number of support people, obviously, as well. But we'll have a lot of people.
What do you guys currently have? Like, I assume there's a lot that goes into this, and it's a multi-year project. Are you guys still conceptual, or have you guys already started building out some of your team and who you're going to need to tackle this whole thing?
We've been building out our team, everything from drawings, engineering studies, working with municipalities on permitting, those kinds of things. So we have a very good core nucleus that obviously we'll be building out as we move forward.
Cool.
So you're in South Carolina right now. Sorry, you're on the East Coast right now.
I live in Greenville, South Carolina.
There you go. Sorry, I didn't mean to do that to you.
No, that's fine.
Hogs are a big thing down there. Now with hogs, you have a lot of uniformity, simplicity, beef, more variation. Getting 8,000 head through a day. Is there any advantages you guys have where you feel like you'll be able to do that easier, either through plant design or something?
Yes, we are very fortunate in that we basically have a blank sheet of paper. So we don't have to live by old paradigms, other than obviously safety of our employees is paramount. Safety of the consumer is paramount. Those things are given, and you have to take those things into account as you design a facility. But we can rethink, and are rethinking, and have found some very innovative partners to help us do things differently. Even things just like how we're going to take care of our team members, how the facility is going to look inside, the lighting we're going to use to make the environment better. So we have an opportunity to do it differently, and everybody that we're partnering with buys into that philosophy. So we believe we're going to have a lot of opportunities to be more efficient in how we process the cattle and bison.
Do you guys have a lot of like pre-existing industry knowledge of like the harvest and production process, or is that a lot of stuff you guys are learning as you're going, or do you have a team that's kind of helped with some of that, or what does that part of it look for you guys?
We do the we think we know we are partnering with the best original equipment manufacturer there is in the world, and they're going to be a huge help to us as we bring on experienced team members. We want to bring on people from the industry who have some knowledge, but at the same token, we don't want to fill our team with just people from the industry, because then we won't get any new ideas.
Yeah, then you'll just be like them, but you guys want to be different.
One of the things that I was reading up that really intrigued me was that you guys have a plan to recycle water at the process or at the facility. Can you talk about that at all?
Oh, absolutely. Throughout the process, you use a lot of water to process cattle and bison. There's no question about it. And we have to be good stewards of all the resources that we use, whether it's water, electricity, whatever, just the cattle itself. We want to make sure that every part that can be marketed can be used and marketed. So on the water specifically, yes, we're designing systems that will recycle a significant amount of our water right there on the plant. And then we will work very closely with the municipalities in terms of what their specifications are. And to some degree, some of the products that we make or some of the water is actually helpful to those plants in terms of digesting the waste that they get in.
Yeah, you're building basically hopefully the processing plants of the future. That's got to feel both amazing and a little bit intimidating, I imagine.
It's both, but it better not be it better not be hopefully the plant of the future. It must be the plant of the future.
Yeah. That's a good way to look at it. So can you talk at all about some of the challenges, like some of the biggest issues you guys have had so far?
Obviously the scope and scale is a challenge. There's been a fair number of what I'll call boo birds, sitting on the sidelines throwing rocks at us. But by and large, people have embraced what we want to do and have been very supportive. So other than the natural challenges of trying to do something on this scale, so far we haven't felt, other than a few people on the sidelines, who aren't in the game, throwing rocks at us, and that's okay. And we expect that.
Yeah, that was one of my questions too, and you kind of touched on is what's the general sentiment that you're hearing and feeling out there from like people locally around it and also nationally?
We've had very good responses from national organizations. Megan has done a number of interviews with people like Bloomberg, Reuters, and others. So we've been very well received nationally.
Yeah, as somebody who's in the industry somewhat, I find any resistance to this that's not from one of the big four confusing. I don't understand how they could look at it as anything but a good thing.
Well, good. I want you to keep, and everyone you run into, I want you to tell them that. That's great, because we want to be a good thing. We want to be good neighbors. We want to be good stewards of the environment. We want to do right by our people, and we obviously, want to do right by our suppliers and our customers.
So, kind of looking at you compared to the big four out there, Are you guys doing this to kind of compete with them directly? Are you trying to fill an existing gap or fill a new role that you guys see as open, or what do you see your role being long-term in the industry?
We want to focus on what we do best. We certainly are going to do some products that are different. We see bison as a very strategic part of our portfolio, but at 8,000 head a day, we're bound to bump into some competition in the marketplace. But that's just going to happen. But we're certainly going to try and do as much as we can to create differentiated products. Everything from, we're going to do U.S. source beef, and we're going to be very open about that. U.S. source bison, we're going to be very open about that. But as big as our operation is, I'm not going to sit here and say that it's impossible that we'll run into some legacy people who've been in the industry a long time.
In June of this year, it was announced that you were targeting 2026 as the open date. Is that still the goal?
Correct.
Okay.
If not sooner. We're hopeful that the supply chains will give us an opportunity to beat that timeline. That was the best information we had. Steel was so tight. We weren't sure, it was 18 months for some steel products that we needed. The OEMs weren't original equipment manufacturers were pretty pessimistic in terms of delivery. We're seeing some of that starting to break positively for us, but that's still the target date. But I sure want to do better than that, and I think we can.
Yeah, that's going to jive nicely, at least what I'm seeing. This recent sell-off, it's going to take 3 to 4 years for the herds to really recover. So if you guys can open right around that time, that is going to be absolutely perfect.
I like to hear that.
Yeah,
we have time to go out and talk to producers and encourage them and tell them our story and why it makes sense for them to do business with us. So yes, I do think having some time is helpful for us in terms of picking the best partners, picking the best technology, doing it the right way. Having the blank sheet of paper that we have right now, so having some time to think it through is going to be beneficial to everybody at the end, our suppliers, our people, and our customers.
What are some of the things that you would say are like your benchmarks for success, and some of the things you find like exciting as you're going through this process?
Well, the first thing is there are three partners right now: myself, Megan, and we just brought another partner in who has significant construction and design experience. We'll be announcing that shortly, formally. So you guys may be the first ones to hear that. And we're working on our culture. The first thing we're trying to do is the three of us are meeting for quite some time next week to lay out what our culture is and how we live out those values. Because if we don't live them, our team sure isn't going to live them. Benchmarks for success will be obviously, did we meet the timeline that we said we would do? Are our suppliers pleased that they do business with us? Are our teammates happy to be part of Western Legacy? And are our customers happy? Do they keep coming back to purchase our products? So from a high spot, those are the measures that we have for our success. And obviously one because I'm ex depant, that's so important is that we excel in safety and occupational health. And I think it's fair to say that the industry may not have the greatest track record in that area.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that would be fair.
And I'm going to just leave it at that.
That's definitely fair to say.
If people want to follow along with how things are going, do you have anything planned for that? Do you guys have a social media? Do you have anything?
We've done a number of town meetings, so we've been pretty open compared to what most people normally go stealth on something like this, and then the day before you hit the start button, you have the governor and ribbon cuttings and stuff like that. Well, we can't do that because it's going to take time to build our supplier base, build time to get our teammates in there and train. Certainly time to work with our customers in terms of what their needs are. So we will continue to be open. Obviously, I'm here today. Megan is on a panel at the South Dakota State Fair this weekend. So we do not have a website up yet where people can blog, and we don't have a blog yet. As we go down the road, we'll certainly think through that. But right now, we think we've been pretty open. And, if people want to find out what we're doing, they shouldn't have to search the internet too hard.
No, there is plenty of information out there. And one of the things you said about trying to figure out how to build your culture, that is unbelievably important. The difference that an employee has going into a good culture versus a negative one is night and day. I can speak from personal experiences. I wake up, get out of bed, and am excited to come into work. Makes all the difference in the world.
Yeah, well, and that's what we have to do. I mean, your environment is probably a little different than a large, cattle and bison processing plant. But we're going to do everything we can within the confines of that's the product we're making to make our team members excited and want to come in, and we have to reward them in such a way that they want to come and be part of our team, because right now people have choices on what team they want to be on.
Yeah, we talked to Rebecca Thistlethwaite. She's with an extension of the University of Washington, and she helps smaller processors. And one of the things she had to get through to them was, you're not competing with the guy down the road anymore. You're competing with with Amazon for employees. You're competing with all these large companies. So you have to, give them specific things, offer them a higher salary, especially if they're cold room workers, more time off. So employee competition is a real thing right now.
Oh, it's huge. And the other thing that goes along with that is turnover is historically pretty high in our industry, and just beyond the cost of retraining people, you've got all kinds of considerations, all the way from safety and health through the quality of the product that you're making.
Absolutely. That's the 5 minutes. You've already been more than generous enough with your time. We really, really do appreciate this. And again, very sorry for the technical difficulties. I will reach out to Megan, obviously, and apologize further. Very annoyed with us.
Non-issue. And if you guys want to do this again, say a month from now for an update or whatever, reach out to Megan or myself, and we'll be happy to work with y'all.
Awesome.
We will definitely take you up on that. Thank you so much, Curtis.
Thanks, Curtis.
You're welcome.
Okay, so for today's podcast, we were going to have the CEO and COO of Western Legacy Development Corporation. One of that is Megan Kingsbury, who is the CEO, and Curtis Harper, who is the COO. Unfortunately, and this is not on them at all.
You can blame Jon. It's okay.
You can blame me. It really, somehow it has to be my fault. Like, we must have done something wrong because I've tested it on iPhones and it works.
Yeah, I don't know. It's one of those things. Technical difficulties happens, and it's unfortunate. Annoying. But we still had a great conversation with Curtis. So
yeah, so Curtis Harper is the COO, Chief Operating Officer of the plant that's being built. Absolutely great conversation. This guy's fascinating. Really enjoyed talking to him.
Yeah. And hopefully we'll get them back on and do some follow-ups here to get more, because it sounds like they're open about stuff, and I'm super intrigued. The more we can know and stay involved in it, just out of my own personal curiosity, I want to stay involved and know what they're doing.
I'm looking forward to what this is going to do to the market. And I'm just like you, I'm intrigued beyond what I normally would be. Like, I just think this is such an interesting thing that's going on. Hopefully, maybe it even spreads to other industries. But we'll get to that interview now. Okay. So then he cuts
back. A wrap up.
Yeah, might as well do a wrap up. All right. So that was our conversation with Curtis. As you could hear, Megan didn't get a chance to join us again. Again, my fault. She was more than willing to do it. And as Curtis said, they're being extraordinarily open with this information. I find it very, very interesting that we have now, well, technically we didn't because we didn't get Megan. But I was going to say we've interviewed somebody that Reuters and Bloomberg have interviewed.
Yeah.
But I'm sure Curtis was on some of those anyways. So I'm still putting that feather in our cap.
Yeah. I don't know the best way to describe it. Almost surprised that they would talk to us. Like,
we're not a big podcast by any stretch of the imagination.
We do. I mean, we're in the industry, but we're not the right. We're not the right fit for a supplier, really, for them. We're not gonna.
Oh yeah,
we don't do that area, and so like them working with us, it doesn't necessarily just like immediately go, oh, that makes sense, because we're already doing stuff together, and we're related because we're both in a similar industry, but at the same time don't have the connection with each other. But they were super open and willing to do it, and like I said before, I want to talk to them again and see a follow up and see where they're going, how things are going. But I think it's gonna be an interesting ride for them. They said it's gonna be about 4 years till they open, 2026, and those 4 years they're gonna be busy.
Oh yes,
be very busy. So during that time, hopefully we can keep talking to them and see where they're at, how things are going. Because one of the things that was most interesting to me was when he talked about they've got like a blank sheet of paper, because they're not going to be constricted to, they already have a plant and they're trying to remodel it and make this work and add production. They're going in blank slate. How are we going to design this the best? They can hopefully learn from others in the industry who've done it before, take other manufacturing and production experience they have, and design something truly different. It'll be exciting to see what they come up with, because I think it's an area and it's an industry that has the potential to do a lot of things different. There's a lot of confines that you have to stay within because of USDA requirements on some things, but still, to design a plant that big from scratch will allow them to do some definitely unique and different things.
I mean, that's just designing the plant is the challenge of somebody's lifetime. Like, somebody's going to be able to basically...
it's not like a person. There'll be like a whole
but there'll be a head
designer
of it.
Yeah.
Somebody will be able to retire saying, I built that plant. And that's going to be a huge feather in their cap. So that is awesome. Do we have anything else we want to talk about?
Ooh, have we talked about our new cups
I don't know
yet?
if we've talked. Well, it'll be on the live stream tomorrow. So anybody who's listening to this is probably...
Not everybody watches the live stream.
So we now have our Waltons and Meatgistics 40-ounce tumblers in.
And they are big.
Yeah,
they're
amazing.
Huge.
But the bottom is small enough to pretty easily fit in a car
Oh yeah.
cup.
That's an absolute requirement. I hate when you get a mug or a cup that's too big to fit in a standard cup holder. It makes me so mad.
So I say that, but mine's never left the office, nor will it.
Are you serious?
Yeah, I don't want to risk losing it.
We have how many hundreds of these things sitting back in the warehouse?
I mean, fair point.
Go
fair
get
point.
another
fair
one.
point. But things go missing from my house randomly. And I know I'm the culprit. Like, I know I just misplaced it and can't find it because my wife knows where everything is. But yeah, so I don't really want to risk that. We also have Walton's and BHA instead of Walton's and Meatgistics. If you want to support BHA instead, you should support Meatgistics. You're listening to our podcast. So make your choice wisely.
They're both
We're
orange,
watching.
just different logos on them, but other than that, same cup. So
yeah. All right. That's it. We'll see you guys on tomorrow's live stream or yesterday's.
Yesterday's,
Today's,
tomorrow's.
however you want to do it. All right. Thanks for watching, guys.
Did we just talk to ourselves in the future?
Thanks for checking out the Meatgistics podcast. To shop everything but the meat, head on over to waltonsinc.com. And to get your meat processing questions answered by experts and enthusiasts alike, head on over to our online community at meatgistics.com. Walton's, everything but the meat.